Get your filthy trash out of my academy right now. The cruel voice of the headmistress sliced through the freezing rain. She violently kicked a box of hand-carved wooden puppets down the muddy stone steps. A young teacher named Chloe fell to her knees in the cold mud. She desperately tried to shield a group of shivering, ragged village children from the storm. Standing quietly in the dark shadows of the courtyard was a single father. He held his little girl tightly in his arms. His eyes were dead and completely cold. As he watched the headmistress scream at the young woman, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Hello everyone, the pure smile of a child is the greatest treasure on earth. It is a treasure that must be protected from the arrogance and cruelty of the world. If you still believe in the power of human kindness, I want you to leave a prayer in the comments right now. Type, I believe a seed planted with love will always grow to shelter the world. And make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. To stand with us. To understand how we reached this breaking point, we have to go back a few weeks. Oakridge Elite Academy was not a place for normal children. It was a fortress of privilege. The parking lot was always filled with luxury cars, private drivers, and bodyguards. The parents who sent their kids here cared more about status than actual education. And the headmistress, a woman named Victoria, made sure the academy stayed completely exclusive. She was obsessed with appearances. She looked down on anyone who didn't wear designer clothes or carry a black credit card. But hidden away in the oldest, most run-down corner of the campus was the old storage room. This was Chloe's sanctuary. Chloe was a 22-year-old assistant teacher. She didn't come from money. She had grown up in the foster care system, bouncing from one broken home to another. She knew exactly what it felt like to be forgotten by the world. Because of her background, Victoria treated Chloe like absolute garbage. She gave Chloe the worst shifts, the lowest pay, and constantly threatened to fire her. But Chloe never complained. She needed this job to fund her actual life's work. Every afternoon, when her shift ended, Chloe would sneak into the old storage room. She had secretly turned it into a safe haven for the poorest orphaned children from the nearby village. These were kids who had nothing. Kids with torn shoes, dirty faces, and empty stomachs. Chloe would use her meager salary to buy ancient mountain tea leaves and wild herbs. She would spend hours brewing warm, soothing tea to keep them healthy in the biting cold. Her hands were covered in tiny cuts and thick calluses. She spent every free second she had whittling small wooden puppets out of old tea tree branches. She didn't have money for iPads or expensive plastic toys, but when she moved those little wooden puppets and told them stories, the village children would laugh until their stomachs hurt. She gave them the one thing they had never experienced. She gave them a mother's warmth. While Chloe was hiding in the shadows, a man named Arthur walked through the front doors of the academy. Arthur looked like an ordinary, exhausted single father. He wore a faded jacket and had dark circles under his eyes. Victoria practically rolled her eyes when she saw him during the school tour. She assumed he was just another struggling middle-class parent, reaching beyond his means. She had no idea that Arthur was the billionaire founder of a global wellness and herbal beverage empire. Arthur possessed more wealth than the entire board of directors combined. But his money was completely useless to him right now. His 4-year-old daughter, Lily, was suffering from severe, closed-off autism. She hadn't spoken a single word in 2 years. She was terrified of loud noises, bright lights, and strangers. Arthur had spent millions on the best doctors, therapists, and specialists in the world. Nothing worked. The medical professionals treated Lily like a clinical experiment instead of a little girl. Arthur was deeply depressed and entirely desperate. He dressed in old clothes and visited regular schools, hoping to find a teacher who would just treat his daughter with basic human empathy. But his first week at Oakridge was a disaster. The other wealthy kids ignored Lily. The teachers were annoyed by her sudden panic attacks and crying fits. Victoria even hinted to Arthur that Lily was dragging down the classroom's performance metrics. Arthur felt his heart breaking into a million pieces. He was ready to pull her out of the school, and give up entirely. Then came a rainy Tuesday afternoon. The thunder was incredibly loud, and the classroom lights kept flickering. Lily went into a state of absolute panic. She covered her ears, screamed, and ran out of the classroom into the hallway. Arthur, who had been waiting in his car, saw her run and sprinted into the building. He frantically searched the empty corridors. Lily had pushed open a heavy wooden door at the end of the hall, trying to escape the noise. It was Chloe's storage room. When Arthur finally found the room, he froze in the doorway. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The room was dimly lit by a small, warm lamp. The air was filled with the deeply calming, earthy scent of ancient mountain tea. Sitting on a worn-out rug were 5 ragged village children, quietly drinking from small ceramic cups. In the center of the room sat Chloe. She wasn't holding Lily down. She wasn't forcing her to breathe, or making loud shushing noises like the doctors did. Chloe was just sitting on the floor, gently clicking 2 wooden tea tree puppets together. The rhythmic, organic sound of the wood was grounding. The smell of the herbal tea overpowered the metallic smell of the rain. Lily was standing completely still. Her hands slowly moved away from her ears. Chloe didn't rush toward her. She simply poured a tiny cup of the warm, amber tea and pushed it across the floor. She placed one of the little wooden puppets right next to the cup. Arthur held his breath, his chest tight with anxiety. Usually, if anyone tried to offer Lily something new, she would violently push it away. But the pure, unpretentious energy in the room was different. Lily took a slow, hesitant step forward. She sat down awkwardly, on the edge of the rug. She picked up the small wooden puppet and traced the rough, hand-carved edges with her tiny fingers. Then she picked up the cup. She took a small sip of the warm herbal tea. For the first time in 2 years, the intense tension in Lily's shoulders completely melted away. She looked up at Chloe. And Lily smiled. It was a small, fragile smile. But it was real. She leaned forward and rested her head against Chloe's knee. Arthur stood in the doorway, tears streaming down his face. He pressed his hand against his mouth to stop himself from sobbing out loud. He had built a billion-dollar empire selling wellness. But this young, broke teacher had just healed his entire world in 5 minutes. He knew right then that Chloe had a gift that no amount of money could ever buy. But the beautiful moment was about to be violently destroyed. The heavy wooden door flew open and slammed violently against the wall. Victoria stood in the doorway. Her face was twisted in absolute disgust. She looked at the old rug, the chipped ceramic cups, and the ragged village children. "What is this filth doing in my academy?" she shrieked. Chloe immediately stood up, trying to shield the children from the woman's anger. "Ma'am, please. It's just after hours. They have nowhere else to go in this storm." Victoria didn't care at all. She marched into the room and viciously kicked the basket of hand-carved tea tree puppets. The little wooden toys scattered across the floor. Then she grabbed the warm clay pot of herbal tea and smashed it against the ground. The children started screaming. Lily covered her ears, terrified by the sudden violence. Chloe quickly pulled the little girl close, shielding her from the broken pieces of clay. "Get your filthy trash out of my academy right now," Victoria screamed, grabbing Chloe by the arm and dragging her toward the exit. "This brings us right back to that freezing courtyard." Chloe fell hard into the cold mud. The rain was relentless, soaking the terrified orphans in seconds. Victoria stood safely under the awning on the stone steps, looking down at them like they were insects. "You are fired, Chloe. And if I ever see you or these diseased street rats near my property again, I will have you arrested." That was when Arthur finally stepped out of the dark shadows. Arthur had watched this cruel woman destroy the only peace his daughter had felt in years. He was about to use his massive wealth to completely shield Chloe's bright world from the darkness. If you are watching this, take a second to write this prayer in the comments. Type, "I believe a seed planted with love will always grow to shelter the world. Let's get back to the courtyard. Arthur walked slowly through the freezing rain. He took off his dry jacket and wrapped it around Chloe's shivering shoulders. Then, he opened a large black umbrella and held it over her and the crying children. Victoria laughed out loud. Oh, how pathetic. Another broke parent trying to play the hero. You can take your weird, defective daughter and leave with her. Arthur didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just looked at Victoria with completely dead, cold eyes. He pulled out his phone and made a single call to his wealth management team. Buy Oakridge Elite Academy. I don't care about the valuation, buy out the entire board of directors. You have 5 minutes. He hung up the phone and put it back in his pocket. Victoria crossed her arms and smirked. Are you insane? Do you know how much this institution is worth? Arthur didn't say a single word. He just stood in the rain, keeping Chloe and the kids dry. 4 minutes and 40 seconds later, Victoria's phone started ringing. It was the chairman of the school's board. Victoria answered it with a confident, arrogant smile. Yes, Mr. Chairman. But the voice on the other end was panicking. Victoria, pack your desk right now. The school was just subjected to a hostile takeover. We sold everything. Victoria's face went completely pale. What? To who? To Arthur Sterling, the founder of the Sterling Wellness Empire. He's the new sole owner. The phone slipped out of Victoria's hand and hit the wet pavement. She slowly looked up at the exhausted father standing under the umbrella. Her legs gave out, and she fell to her knees in the exact same mud she had just pushed Chloe into. Mr. Sterling. I didn't know. Arthur looked down at her. Security, Arthur said calmly, signaling to the academy guards who had just run outside. Escort this woman off my property. She is trespassing. The security guards, who had hated Victoria for years, happily grabbed her by the arms and dragged her toward the gates. She was screaming and crying, begging for a second chance. But no one even looked at her. She lost her career, her reputation, and her high society status in a matter of seconds. Arthur turned to Chloe and helped her up. He didn't just give her her teaching job back. He bought a massive, beautiful estate out in the country and turned it into the Sterling Chloe Foundation. He appointed Chloe as the CEO of his entire global early childhood education system. Her wild mountain tea recipe and her gentle, patient methods became the core healing program for thousands of children struggling with severe anxiety and autism. Over the next year, Lily completely transformed. She started speaking. She started laughing. She wouldn't go to sleep without holding one of Chloe's hand-carved wooden puppets. And Arthur realized, he didn't just find a teacher for his daughter. He found the heart of his family. 2 years later, they held a breathtaking wedding ceremony. It wasn't in a stuffy, expensive hotel. It was right on top of the ancient tea hills. The air was filled with the pure scent of early lotus flowers and mountain mist. The orphaned kids, now healthy, safe, and well-dressed, ran around laughing. Lily was the flower girl, smiling brighter than the sun. To celebrate this beautiful ending, I want you to comment. I believe a seed planted with love will always grow to shelter the world. Here is the truth. The greatest gift a single father could ever receive was finding a kind heart to warm his daughter's life again. Chloe had nothing, but she gave everything. And because of that, she gained the world. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. And don't forget to leave your comment below. I believe a seed planted with love will always grow to shelter the world. See you in the next story.